Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. There looks like there was a pretty interesting interview that President-elect Trump did over the weekend with NBC's Kristen Welker, and a big part of that interview was immigration related. So I wanted to play some of those clips and see what is going on. I've seen a lot of people talking about it online, but this is my first time sitting down and actually listening to it myself. And it looks like there's some things that are going to be related to DACA recipients, which is a really interesting area in immigration. I think there's some work that needs to be done there. There's some people who are in a really unfair situation, I think, and I'm curious to see what President Trump has to say about that. So I'm just going to play the clip and just kind of react to it along with you guys. So let's see what's going on here.
Let's talk about mass deportation, one of your big agenda items. You've talked about prioritizing people who have criminal...
So I just want to stop there because a lot of people, this mass deportation thing, that was a big campaign slogan, I guess. And a lot of people, it's not clear what that means right now. And it certainly wasn't clear what it meant earlier in the campaigns, but it caused a lot of panic in immigration, right? Especially for a lot of our clients who are maybe out of status, at the time, or in removal proceedings. So mass deportation, first of all, it's impossible to deport everybody, right? Who's not here legally. It's impossible for a lot of reasons, but first of all, it's not possible legally, and it's also not possible just logistically, right? I mean, logistically, you can't just go into people's homes and kick down doors and drag people out of their houses. It's just not possible. And even if it was, the optics of that are just terrible, right? You just don't want to be doing that. But it's also just not possible legally because here in the United States, we have due process. If you're here, you've got due process rights, okay? So people have to go through a legal process before they can be found deportable or removable from the United States. Also, a lot of undocumented immigrants have U.S. citizen immediate relatives, spouses, kids, right? Parents. And so there are legal pathways available to some undocumented people. So mass deportation it's just not possible in the kind of fear-mongering way that a lot of people had in their mind, when that term was originally brought out. So I'll just stop there, but we'll keep going. But I just kind of wanted to mention that. At least that's my interpretation of this. The more that we get into the Trump administration being formed, I think we're seeing more clarity around his plan about what this mass deportation thing actually means. I think it's pretty clear now that the people they're going to focus on are convicted criminals first, and then there'll kind of be a trickle-down effect towards other undocumented migrants.
Correct. But is it your plan to deport everyone who is here illegally over the next 4 years?
Well, I think you have to do it, and it's a very tough thing to do.
It's just not possible.
You have rules, regulations, laws. They came in illegally. The people that have been treated very unfairly are the people that have been online for 10 years to come into the country. And we're going to make it very easy for people to come in terms of they have to pass the test. They have to be able to tell you what the Statue of Liberty is. They have to tell you a little bit about our country. They have to love our country. They can't come out of prisons. We don't want people that are in for murder. So we had 11,000 and 13,000 different estimates, 13,099 murderers released into our country over the last 3 years. They're walking down the streets. They're walking next to you and your family. And they're very dangerous.
The 13,000 figure, I think, goes back about 40 years.
No, it doesn't. No, it's within the 3-year period. It's during the Biden term. No, that was a fiction that they put that out. This was done by the Border Patrol. It's 13,099, and it's during the Biden period of time. And these are murderers, many of whom murdered more than one person. You don't want those people in this country.
But you're saying something, sir, that's significant.
For the record, I'm an immigration attorney, right? And I represent the rights of immigrants and oftentimes their U.S. citizen family members. And if you're a convicted murderer, like President Trump was just saying, there is no legal pathway for you to get your residence, okay? Because there's certain... So I agree with him. We don't want those people in the United States. If you're a gang member, a convicted murderer, there is no pathway. There's no waiver available for you. There's, that's a permanent ban. There's no legal pathway for those people to get their residence or their citizenship in the United States. So I have no problem with those people being deported. We don't want them here. There's no legal pathway for them to get their residence anyways. So I agree. I don't think we want those people here either.
Make sure I'm clear, which is that you're saying yes.
But I think what she's pushing on is getting everybody deported, and we'll see what he has to say about that.
Going to focus on the people with criminal histories, but everyone who's here illegally has to go.
I'm saying this. We have to get the criminals out of our country. We have to get people that were taken out of mental institutions and put them back into their mental institution, no matter what country it is. Do you know that Venezuela, their prisons are at the lowest point in terms of emptiness that they've ever been? They're taking their people out of those prisons by the thousands, and they're drunk. And just to get back, because I know exactly what you're getting at. Number one, we're doing criminals, and we're going to do them really rapidly. We're getting the worst gang probably with MS-13, and the Venezuelan gangs are the worst in the world. They're vicious, violent people. And you see what they've done in Colorado.
And I have no problem with that.
Literally taking over apartment complexes and doing it with impunity. They don't care. They couldn't. They just are. They're in the real estate business.
The local police say that is not the case in Colorado.
Oh, it's totally the case. I mean,
you don't believe the local police.
I play it. I used to play it at my rallies every single night. No, they're breaking into doors. They're taking over the building.
But sir, you
and by the way,
raised the point.
The police are afraid to do anything.
You raised the point that the logistics are complicated. You said
Sure
it yourself.
but everything's
complicated. Yeah, you mean you need 24 times more ICE detention capacity just to deport 1 million people per year, not to mention more agents, more judges, more planes. Is it realistic to deport everyone who's here illegally?
I've heard a lot of people talking about that exact question because on the one hand, he's trying to slim down the government through the government efficiency with Elon and Vivek, but they're also going to need more resources to carry out the mass deportation. So,
first of all, they're costing us a fortune, but we're starting with the criminals, and we got to do it. And then we're starting with others, and we're going to see how it goes.
Who are the others?
Others are other people outside of criminals. We have convicted murders. We don't mean people that are even on trial. We have people that have murdered numerous people are on our streets and in our farms, and we have to get them out of our country.
And I agree with that because, like I said, there's no legal pathway. If you've been convicted of a certain... So in the immigration regulations... If you have been convicted of certain types of crimes like murder, torture, genocide, drug trafficking, there's no waivers available. Even if you've got U.S. citizen relatives and, qualifying relatives for waivers, there is no waiver available for those people. So it makes sense to expedite those removals because they have no legal pathway here in the United States.
Dreamers, sir. Dreamers who were brought to this country illegally as children.
This will be interesting.
In 2017, they, quote, shouldn't be very worried about being deported. Should they be worried now?
The dreamers are going to come later, and we have to do something about the dreamers because these are people that have been brought here at a very young age, and many of these are middle-aged people now. They don't even speak the language of their country.
That's true.
Yes. We're going to do something about the dreamers.
What does that mean? What are you going to do?
I will work with the Democrats on a plan, and if we can come up with a plan, but the Democrats have made it very, very difficult to do anything. Republicans are very open to the dreamers. The dreamers, we're talking... It
sounds like he's open to some kind of solution for the DACA recipients, and I think that's good because, like I said, it's DACA recipients were sold a dream that has never come true, and that's not their fault. And like President-elect Trump has said, some of these people are in their middle age now. I mean, we have clients who are middle-aged. They've been on DACA their whole life. They've been working. They go to school. They go to college. They've got jobs, and they have no pathway to citizenship. And I do think it's the just thing to do to, probably he's going to talk about, assuming they don't have serious criminal convictions or a criminal background, finding a lawful pathway for DACA recipients to get citizenship.
Many years ago, they were brought into this country. Many years ago. Some of them are no longer young people. And in many cases, they become successful. They have great jobs.
Yeah.
In some cases, they have small businesses. Some cases, they might have large businesses. And we're going to have to do something with them. And
you want them to be able to stay. That's what you're saying.
I do. I want to be able to work something out.
There you go.
And it should have been able to be worked out over the last 3 or 4 years. And it never got worked out. Biden could have done it because he controlled
That's true.
Congress to a certain extent, right? He could have done something, but they didn't do it. I never understood why, because they always seem to want to do it, but then when it comes down to it, they don't. I think we can work with the Democrats and work something out.
Let me ask you about another group.
I agree with that.
Estimated 4 million families in America who have mixed immigration status. So I'm talking about parents who might be here illegally, but the kids are here legally. Your borders are.
You're talking about separation.
Yeah, well, there are two aspects to this. Your borders are, Tom Homan said, they can be deported together.
Correct.
Is that the plan?
Well, that way you keep well, I don't want to be breaking up families, so the only way you don't break up the family is you keep them together, and you have to send them all back.
Even kids who are here legally?
Well,
what about U.S. citizens? You can't deport U.S. citizens. So I'm glad she's pushing him on this because it needs to be clarified.
Well, what you're going to do if they want to stay with the father? Look, we have to have rules and regulations. You can always find.
So he didn't have an answer to that, and that's okay because you can't deport a U.S. citizen. So, and right now, the immigration regulations allow for waivers, right? So if you have a U.S. citizen qualifying relative and you have unlawful presence or you have some kind of bar of inadmissibility, you can apply for these waivers. And I don't know if he knows about that, but that is something that's in the regulations now to keep that's designed to keep the family together. So whoever is undocumented or without status can get their status without having to leave the United States.
This doesn't work, that doesn't work. I'll tell you what's going to be horrible. When we take a wonderful
Trump is a big picture guy, right? So he's not going to get into the granular details about these types of things. That's what his appointees are going to be for, right? So, but let's just keep going.
A woman who's with a criminal, and they show the woman, and she could stay by the law, but they show the woman being taken out, or they want her out, and your cameras are focused on her as she's crying, as she's being taken out of our country, and then the public turns against us. But we have to do our job, and you have to have a series of standards and a series of laws, and in the end,
I agree.
The country is a mess.
Thanks for watching. Stay up.
Oh. All right. Well, kind of a typical Trump interview. It was intriguing, but kind of short on specifics. And like I said, that's just kind of par for the course. Donald Trump he's a big picture guy. He's going to throw some stuff out there and maybe not have all the specifics. But I think it was very encouraging. I think the most important part of that clip was to see his comments about the Dreamers. Like I said, these are people who are now middle-aged and often very successful and are here through no fault of their own. And I think it's the just thing to do to find a way to give them lawful status or some kind of pathway to citizenship, or if not to citizenship, then to at least become a permanent resident. I think that's the right thing to do. I agree with that. And I also agree with getting the murderers out. Like I said, there's no pathway to citizenship for, convicted murderers or drug traffickers. People convicted of torture or genocide. There's no waivers. There's no pathway for them anyways. So it just makes sense to, I think, expedite those removals and then kind of have a trickle-down effect until you can focus on people who are not criminals or who are here undocumented through other ways. But the big takeaway here is that we're going to see a resolution on DACA finally for these Dreamers who are currently here and have been here their whole lives. And I think that's an encouraging thing to see. So we're going to see all this stuff rolling out. I mean, Trump's not even in office yet, and it's almost like he's already running the country, you know. But we're going to see this stuff rolling out in the coming months and years. So we'll be on top of it, and please keep following our channel. We'll follow all the updates as they come out and keep you guys informed and updated with everything that's going on in the immigration world.